anxiety and the effect bipolar will have.
I'm Sarah Owen, one of the team at
Also, Georgina Bob is here as well.
I'm pleased to welcome you here today for the Women with Bipolar in TV drama session. I'd like to introduce the panel. Rose, she's the Deputy CEO at Bipolar UK. She's been with the charity since 2017 and she looks after all our peer support services. And then Natasha Naomi Ray, she's an actress, an ambassador for Bipolar UK, and she wrote her memoir, Me, Myself and Bipolar Brenda, and she's currently developing her drama, Becoming Better, inspired by her life as a single mother living with bipolar. Also, I'd like to introduce Camilla Leach, who is Bipolar UK's partnerships manager. She's also been a facilitator for the Camden Peer Support Group, and she also has a diagnosis of bipolar. So welcome to you all. So we're going to be discussing today whether women on TV with bipolar encourage understanding of the condition. And we've got a poll, which we'd love you to take part in, because we'd be really interested to know what you all think. And you can take part during the whole session, and then we'll look at the results at the end. Do fictional female characters with bipolar in TV drama encourage understanding of the condition? So you can click on the blue button underneath the screen and just join in whenever you feel like it, and then we'll share the results at the end. So we're going to start off talking about EastEnders. Gillian Wright, the actress, joined the soap in 2004. She plays Jean Slater, who has a diagnosis of bipolar. And then 5 years later, her daughter Stacey was diagnosed. So it's been a really interesting storyline that's developed over the years. And we're going to go to Rose first, because I know, Rose, that you've been helping the EastEnders script writers with the storyline, and they've come to you with lots of different questions about how to make sure that they can get things right. So I'd be really interested to hear how you've been supporting the team.
Thanks, Sarah. One of the key things I think as a sort of charity and someone living with the condition was trying to give some kind of guidance around some of the storylines they had, which they've already scripted, but they was, I think, just checking in that it was something that could be seen as a reflection in terms of somebody living with the condition, and actually on screen would come across as a bit more realistic rather than something that's kind of been plucked out the air and not that realistic in terms of someone living with, as a character living with it. And I think both the characters and the actresses that play the roles, Lacey Turner and Gillian Wright, do a fantastic job in terms of getting those kind of characters and kind of characteristics into their acting. And I think the scene last week where Lacey Turner was playing with a co-actor was brilliant, trying to get across those nuances, which if you don't have the condition, but you assume everything's going to be fine in any minute, was trying to get across that actually it's not always that easy. It's not always that easy to have to live or try to live with someone who does have the condition at times, and they have to make that understanding that there might be times where it's more difficult. So what we've been doing is just, trying to give those kind of updates where it might be something to do, for example, with medication, and just giving them some ideas around how that might be physically presented, but also what type of medication might be being prescribed at certain points in somebody's. So, for example, if somebody's in the middle of an episode or in a sort of middle of a crisis. So we were trying to be the kind of voice sounding board, so they could come and ask questions when they'd scripted specific scenes. Then we could kind of give our advice around what might work, what might not work, and also what was unrealistic about bipolar, and try and dispel any of the myths that might come across as well. We lost Sarah.
Yeah, we did. I think we did for a second. That's absolutely fine. I will take over from here. That's fine.
Yeah. What was your thoughts of the characters? Because I think we're I don't know if you've had a chance to sort of reflect on it.
So I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not a massive EastEnders buff. I used to watch it religiously, but I've done quite a lot of homework before this event. Just looking into it, and it seems that the internet's quite divided about the representations of bipolar in EastEnders. I think that there's a whole community of people that feel like it's a really, really accurate portrayal of bipolar, and it does amazingly to really represent the illness in all the different facets of it. But then you have another cohort of people that feel that some of the characters are a little bit over the top, perhaps, and a little bit more of a caricature rather than really representing bipolar. And it's difficult really for me to be able to comment fully on it on the basis that I've not watched it end to end. But what I do think is having a complicated bipolar issues put in front of 8 million viewers 4 times a week can only increase public health education on bipolar, which is going to be hugely important in terms of us and our charity and our mission. And in turn, it will lead to a greater understanding and early intervention of the illness, which is what we're striving for. So I really do feel that, regardless of the fact that people are kind of divided on their opinions about these characters, that it's fantastic to have it so publicly in the domain for people to be able to see and talk about. There's an organization called MDF that have a bipolar sort of support line, and they said that calls to that line doubled since they started with the bipolar storyline on EastEnders, which goes to show that obviously a lot more people are reaching out and asking for help, which is a really, really good thing. So all in all, I think it's positive to have bipolar represented in the media, and it's fantastic to hear that us as a charity have been so instrumental in sort of working with EastEnders. It's great to hear all the work that you were doing on that, Rose.
Thanks, Camilla. And I think one of that particular character I always found when I watched it a long time ago was quite eccentric. So I think it's kind of the sort of differences between bipolar and the eccentricities of the character. I wonder if that kind of misleads people around the bipolar as well at times with the divisiveness, because I think it is an eccentric character at times, but very well acted. So yeah. What about you, Natasha? Any thoughts?
I mean, I always ask my son because I just think he's the best person to ask because he lives with me and he's grown up with it. So I said to him, "What's your opinion with Jeannie?" He was like, "Not really like when you're hypermanic. She just seems like she's got a lot of energy and stuff." He was like, "But she's a big character like you. She's quite like energetic and stuff." The one thing I did pick, because obviously for me living with this and me writing with a writer that has worked on shows like Casualty and EastEnders, I'm quite attention to detail. And I did mention to Sarah that I had to pause the other day to actually see what her medication was, and it is lithium. But when she went to a doctor's appointment, they said that she'd not had a review for a year. And as we know, if you are on lithium, you would obviously have regular bloods. So that was one kind of thing where I was just a bit like, that kind of made me, I think that needed to be a bit more accurate, because especially around, I get so many questions about medication. And I think if they've got an opportunity to be able to show that, it needs to be done correctly, in my opinion, obviously. But that was like one of the things where I was just like, I had to literally pause it and I was like, what does it say on that box? What does it say? So yeah, that was the thing for me years ago watching Lacey Turner. I think she's an amazing actress, absolutely in awe of her. Before she got diagnosed, her behavior, her anger, the way she was really resembled how I was at that age. So for me, Lacey has always been more accurate for me, but I'm more that age as well. I'm not, I'm not older, so probably I'm going to relate to Lacey's portrayal more. than I would Gillian's. Yeah.
Thanks, Natasha. I'll hand back to Sarah because I think there's probably other series that we would move on to.
Yeah, well, I know that we've all been watching with interest In My Skin, which is a BBC Three drama, where, again, interestingly, there's a mother and daughter. This time, the daughter, 16-year-old Bethan, it's set in Wales, it shows her life in sixth form with her friends and all her teenage happenings, the shenanigans that go on. But also she's got another life at home where her mother has a manic episode in the very first episode of the series. And one of the scenes that really stands out to me is where the mum is in the street in the middle of the night. So it's pitch black. She's got her music blaring out and she's washing her car. And it's, for her, it's just a perfectly normal thing to do. And of course, her daughter's trying to take her inside, and because the neighbours are complaining about the noise. And I just think that's a really interesting kind of depiction of mania, which you don't necessarily always see on screen. And the daughter having to deal with that, and then just going to sixth form and not telling any of her friends. So she's kind of hiding what she's dealing with in the background. So again, it's a really interesting perspective from the point of view of the daughter. And because, as we know, as well as the people with bipolar, the families are so affected. So I thought that was really, and some of the scenes are so gritty, they really are heart-wrenching. And I know the writer of the series, Kaylee Llewellyn, it's based on a lot of her actual experiences because her mum has bipolar. So that insight was really interesting, and it's really well done. I think the series has been nominated for 4 BAFTAs. So, and it's getting bipolar out there, isn't it, into the conversation. So that's really great. So Camilla, I know you've got some interesting thoughts about In My Skin.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sarah. And I think that you really summed it up really well. Just the 2 words that you said, gritty and heart-wrenching, because it is really close to the bone, I find. It's close to reality, the series. And so it's actually a little while ago, back in 2019, that the actor Jo Hartley reached out to me to discuss her role in a little bit more detail. And she's absolutely wonderful. She was really keen to make sure that she portrays bipolar in the right way. She didn't want to do it a disservice because she didn't have close friends or any family members that have gone through it, so no personal experience. So she wanted to really understand it. So we met up a few times and ran lines together. And she wanted to understand, really get, excuse the pun, but under the skin of the character, and really get really to the heart of where some of this hypomania and this mania was coming from. And I just remember one of the lines that we were doing is when she was in the hospital and she'd just been sectioned. And she was talking to her daughter, Bethan, and she says, I'm in a locked ward. And it was just that stark kind of reality of being in a locked ward. And we talked about that at length, about the feeling of being sectioned and about having your liberty taken away. And I remember doing the lines with her, and then I remember watching it and just having chills down my spine, feeling that, she captured it so beautifully. Myself personally, I've been through that, and I've been in a hospital situation. And I just felt that she did the character such justice and really understood what she was going through, essentially. I also found the mother and daughter interactions really heartwarming as well. That shift in roles, that shift in responsibilities between, the daughter then having to take care of the mother, and what that looked like and how that played out. I absolutely adored working with Jo. We're still in contact. She would have been here tonight. but she's away at the moment. But hopefully we'll have her on another one of these sessions. And fingers crossed that In My Skin receives one of the many BAFTAs that it's been nominated for, because it's I thought it was an absolutely brilliant series. Like to maybe open that up to discussion, but I don't know what anyone else thought about it.
Natasha, do you want to share your thoughts?
The first series I didn't like. I thought it was a bit extreme, the first one, but interestingly enough, I'd not actually experienced psychosis at that point. And then afterwards, obviously I did. The thing with Kayla, I absolutely like, awe of her, like I've spoke to her and stuff. And I just think the reason In My Skin works, and I keep saying this in my industry, like with diversity and stuff like that, is because that was her truth. That was her absolute raw truth, and so brave of her to go, I'm going to tell my story. Do you know what I mean? And what was quite heartbreaking for me is my son didn't actually watch it with me, and he walked in the second when the second season was on, and it was when she was in the police station, and she was just repeating herself, like, and he walked in, he went, is she taking you off? And I just literally, like, I'm going to get upset. Like, it was just that moment where I just went, oh my gosh, like, that must be so accurate to how he sees it. I just think it's because it's lived experience. I just think things need to be written by people, that are going through, that have gone through that. I always look at it, I always imagine this when I'm watching My Skin. If in 10 years' time, Luciano was to write his story of living with me, how it would be different from me writing, me living with it. Do you know, so it's going to be completely different. But, it was done on such a low budget. It was done, I know that they fought to get it made. And I just think it is deserving of everything that it gets, because it's give people that this is how it is, and this is what it was like for us to live with it. It's very, very to the bone for me because of my son. My son's only 11. So the second series, I remember ringing my friend who I write with, and I went, oh my God, it was absolutely stunning. And it was just, there were certain scenes where I was sobbing towards the end of that season, but it was just raw. And that's what, when you're dealing with subjects like this, it's got to come from rawness and truth. And I think that's relatability. And that's what people, if you watch other dramas like Little Boy Blue, they're coming from truth. The people are always you want to create, you want to dramatize things, but ultimately you're always going to win people over when it comes from your heart and it comes from truth, in my opinion. And that's why I think she's excelled.
Thanks, Natasha. I couldn't agree more. And Rose, any thoughts on In My Skin?
Yeah, I think it is one of those kind of really hard-hitting dramas, and I think it also has that balance of sort of humour and the sort of youth and taking people back as well to what's going on for them at that age. But I think it's something that do try and spend some time watching, because I think it's a really brilliant drama. And good luck to them in their awards. So.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't get to vote, because we could run a campaign, couldn't we? Well, let's see. Maybe it will do really well anyway. So we'll come to another series we're going to look at as well, Modern Love. It's interesting because I didn't even have an Amazon Prime account, and so many people kept on saying to me, you've got to watch this episode, you've got to watch this episode. And so I was really intrigued. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a series of kind of dramas looking at love in all its forms. And this episode, which is episode 3 of season 1, is with the actress Anne Hathaway, who plays the character Lexi. And at the very beginning, she is experiencing hypomania. And the scene that really stands out for me is where she is in the supermarket and she's wearing this gold sparkly sequined top, and she's kind of dancing around, and you can just see that she's buzzing and all this energy, and I think, yeah, I've never experienced hypomania, so I'm really intrigued as to what people who have. I think when it was aired, there was a lot of really good feedback about the episode on social media. And people in the bipolar community seem to really like it. So I'll be really interested in what you've all got to say. So Natasha, what did you think?
This is really interesting for me because I watched it the first time and I was like, whoa, that wasn't needed. It was too much. And then since I started writing mine and going back and looking, I had an experience with coral where I got obsessed with coral clothes, and I went into Primark and literally bought everything coral, come out dressed as coral. And in my script, I wrote there was bubbles in the air, the clouds are all, you know, but actually around her, it's all dark and gloomy, but this is what she's seeing. Well, then in reality, once it went into the edit and we popped her clothing and the performance of it, that wasn't actually needed because the energy was there. Do you know what I mean? I think that scene would have worked without the dancing and stuff, but I thought it was so accurate about the peach because I get like that. If I want, I don't know, for example, this week I needed a new desk. Everything, my focus was on that desk. Nothing in my life would go right until I've got this desk. I think she got it. What I loved about when I watched it the second time was she got the energy levels. And that's the best way, I think, to portray somebody with bipolar is their physicality. And I think that's one of the saddest ones for me was when she was in the bathroom and she'd got herself dressed up and she looked in the mirror. And I thought, oh my God, is she having a stroke? Like, what's happening to her? Like, her face changed, everything. And she was like, please no, please no. And it just come on her like a ton of bricks. And I think that's what people don't get is that I've had people say to me before, oh, well, you were fine yesterday. And it's like, yeah, I know, but it just comes. And I just thought that portrayal of it was where it really resonated with me. And one of the lines that really, really struck a chord for me personally, because I was 15, is when she literally turned around and she said, I'm bipolar. I have been since I was 15. And I always say I wake up with 60 elephants on my chest. And she said, how does it feel saying it? And she said, like an elephant's just lifted its foot off my chest. The second time I watched it, if anything that I've watched, it really resonated. It really did resonate with me. I think that was the energy that they got right and the way that they shot the timing of the scenes and stuff. All of that matters when you're portraying this condition because effectively it's a mood and energy change. That's what. But yeah, it really did. It resonated with me a lot that the second time I watched it.
Thank you. And for anyone who hasn't seen the episode, can you just explain about the peach? So she becomes obsessed with.
Yeah. So she goes out. This is why it resonated so much with me. So the story with me is she wanted to go to the supermarket because she wanted to go and get whatever she wanted to get. And then she's seen this peach because this peach must have represented how she felt, the colour. And that's what happened to me. I walked in and I seen just this coral top. And then I just wanted everything coral. But I can get anxious. So if it doesn't match, but this peach, she fell in love with this peach. So then everything else she fell in love with around her. Do you know what I mean? That man could have probably been, I don't know, the Ripper or somebody, do you know what I mean? But she probably still would have looked at him as this shining god because he was representing what she was feeling towards this peach, you know, and that's how precise you have to be when you're portraying this condition. So that's what I'm saying about attention to detail.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Natasha. And Rose, what were your thoughts about that episode?
I think I really enjoyed it. Ellie, one of our colleagues, has recommended it to a lot of our community, because of the sort of representation that it can demonstrate, that sort of hypermania, mania, and then going through that sort of depressive, sort of into the sort of depressive slide. And I think for me, that's what stood out, is that sort of kind of switch when she was ready to sort of enjoy something, and then she just had to go down again and went into the sort of depression, into the bed, and
it really,
and it was really sad.
It really gets you, doesn't it? Because it's like you snatched my joy away from me. Do you know what I mean? Like she's saying, please no, please no. It's like somebody's trying to take something from you, and it's just, I found that quite, it upset me. That it really got to me, that bit, to be honest. And certain lines that she says in it, I think, I'm bipolar, I'm dealing with it. Can you deal with it? Somebody did a review at Bipolar UK on my book and said something about modern love, and it was before I watched it, where she goes, come back, no, go away, please come back, no, go away. And I think that is that kind of tug of war that you have with anything, people and things around you. I want that. No, I don't. Do I? No, I don't. Your mind is like a badminton. I don't know. Don't play badminton. Is it tennis? Whatever. Bat and a ball. Or a peach.
And what about you, Camilla?
I absolutely love the episode, and I really agree, Natasha, about what you talked about, the physicality. I felt that Anne Hathaway almost like embodied the changing states of energy. There's one scene where she's walking down the road, having been to the supermarket, the grocery store that morning, and bought the peach and met the man, and she's on her way to work and she's running late, but she's just full of joy. And you can see it. It's just all in her face, and like the physicality of that, the energy that she portrays. It just, I just felt that, because I've been in hypermania myself. And another thing that really struck a chord, Natasha, was about your coral, because I had the same with purple. It was just everything was suddenly had to be purple, and it was amazing, but it all had to be purple. So you know, I really, really related to that. That aspect of it. It certainly takes you on a journey, and it's just the battling of the relationships and the professional life with bipolar. I think that's really interesting as well, because it's like, how do you keep this all moving? How do you keep it all going smoothly when you're suffering from this mental health issue? And she's trying to very much keep it to herself, and she's not sharing with her colleagues. So like a lot about sort of disclosure came up for me as well, about the disclosure in the workplace. When is it a good time to talk to your colleagues about having bipolar? When is it a good time on a dating site to mention that you have bipolar when you're looking to find a partner? Because and I love the aspect that right at the end, she's just honest, and she's sitting there and she's writing her online dating profile, and she's talking very much from the heart about who she is and about, this is me, this is my bipolar. And that was really amazing to see, because I think that takes a certain kind of bravery and courage to just be, fully aware that a lot of people will say, okay, that's fine, I don't want anything to do with that, but actually only welcoming in people that would be open to, her changing states and her moods and everything. I also loved what Sarah, you talked about the sequin top in the grocery store. I love the way she said, like, it matched my mood. Because there would often be times that you would just choose something shiny and sparkly because it matched your mood, and that was I felt that to be so true. There was so much of this that I just it resonated with me.
Was
interesting.
I totally agree. I feel like my act's wonky on here. I don't know if it's the screen. Sorry, it's my OCD.
Interestingly, the writer of that episode, Terry Cheney, I think it is, or Cheney, she also has bipolar. So again, that goes back to Natasha's point about someone sharing their truth, their truthful experiences, which is really interesting, isn't it? So what I'd like to do is maybe go around and see if we can answer the question we're asking. Does having someone with bipolar, a woman with bipolar in a TV drama, does it encourage understanding? So my own view is that it's better to have the conversation, that bipolar is kind of on the map. I think that screenwriters do make mistakes and nothing's ever perfect. You can't represent a whole condition with one character. It's only going to be an individual experience anyway, because as we all know, every single person with bipolar is an individual. So you can't just lump everybody together and represent them all by one person. But for me, it's definitely a positive thing, just because it gets the conversation going, if nothing else, even if mistakes are made.
So more of it.
Yeah, so Rose, I'll come to you. If you have any thoughts just to sum up.
I totally agree, and I think it's putting that in front, like Camilla mentioned earlier, getting it into the audience and having, as you say, getting that conversation. The more awareness, the better, and people can educate themselves as well about what's going on if they need to. So,
great, thank you. And Natasha, coming to you.
Yeah, I just think we need more of it. And, I've said to you before, in the industry that I'm in, you talk about diversity and, if somebody's got a physical condition, that the person has to have a physical condition to play the role or write the script. I think we need to push that with bipolar, with mental health conditions, because, it's just exactly the same. I just think we need more of it and more diverse characters with it. There's a lot of fun. We're sensitive, and we're I'd like to think something, we're fun and we're good people to be around, and I think we need to show that aspect of how we care for our friends and our family, and there's a lot that hasn't been shown, but I'm coming with it, don't worry, I'm coming with it.
And Camilla?
I'm excited for that, Natasha.
Yeah, I'll send you the sizzler. Give me your opinion.
Perfect, will do. That sounds good. Yeah, I will just echo what everyone said. I just think more of it on TV is needed. I think anything we've got going on at the moment is great, because it raises awareness and it puts us on the map, gets the conversation started. But yeah, I think more can be done. And I agree with Natasha's point about diversifying the types of characters that are depicting bipolar as well. I think that would be really important as well, just to show that there is a wide cross section of society that suffers from this illness. But yeah, that's my view. It's been great to be here, so thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's been a really interesting discussion, and I'm sure there are so many other characters we could have. We were talking about Homeland, weren't we? And I know that was obviously a huge character and a big series, and got lots of interest with people, some loving it, some hating it. So we could probably be here all night discussing the various things. But I think we're going to come to the poll now, the poll results. So we asked the question at the beginning, let me find the exact way we phrased it. Do fictional female characters with bipolar and drama encourage understanding of the condition? So I think, yeah, it's an interesting, pretty conclusive yes. 55%, no, 27%. I think there's still time to vote. It's obviously nuanced. It's a pretty black and white answer there, yes or no. But yeah, still time to vote if anyone wants to. And we'll be sharing after the conference tomorrow, hopefully, if not Friday. We'll be sending everybody an email with the links to all the recordings of all of the sessions, so you'll be able to watch the other breakout sessions as well in the other rooms, because you obviously couldn't attend everything at once. We'll be sending all the links to all the charity fundraising events we've got coming up, and the new commission report, and lots of other things as well, all the things that Simon mentioned. So I think we're going to go to a break now, and then we'll be back at 8 o'clock for the highlights, certainly of my evening, when our guest of honour, Professor Kay Redfield Jameson, will be interviewed by Bipolar UK Ambassador Emma Bell. And I'm really looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll see you there.
I'm excited for that.
Thank you.